Well, Mr. Obsolete here. Well, another chore for the day. I'm getting the chopper out ready to grind up all this stuff here. And you can see that there's rust on the pulleys. We have a lot of moisture in the air in this area. And I could put grease and stuff on it, but it's hard to get off and stuff. And so, several ways you can do it. You can take sandpaper and get it off. Or if you're like me, take it off with brute force. I'll be back in a second. Well, we'll be using this, or wire wheel. So we'll it's ready to go. Get some eyes on here. Yeah, we got a little more here to get out, but this one cleaned up really good. So I'll work on this a little more and we'll be back. Okay, well, the pulleys are cleaned up, got the belt back on. Now, this has been not running for 6 months, but I serviced it thoroughly before I put it away. So, I don't know if you can see in there or not, but brand new fresh oil that I put in last fall. It's full. And the gas, I use gas with no alcohol in it, and use stable, and I fill the tank full so that no condensation gets in it over the winter. So let's see how easy it starts here. First thing we'll do is turn on the fuel. We'll turn on the ignition switch, set the throttle, put on the choke. Let's see how many pulls. See that servicing it properly makes a huge difference. If you didn't service it, the carburetor would need to be cleaned. You might have to take it to the shop if you can't fix it yourself. Big expense when there's absolutely no need. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over and set it up here and start cutting this up. I'm going to use this in another video, which we'll be doing shortly, and show you what the use is for it. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, well, we're ready to start. This thing is terribly loud, so it's extremely important to wear these. And also your eye protection, because occasionally when you're feeding in here, it'll kick back out or throw something out here. So you always want to be real careful when running one of these. So I'll start it up and let it warm up for a bit and we'll be back. Okay, well, we're warmed up. It's important to warm up small engines, both 2-cycle and 4-cycle. These take longer because you have to warm up the oil inside a bit. Makes a huge difference how long they last. And when you're through using them, you know, let it idle for about a minute or two to cool off. Like I say, it'll make a huge difference in how long they last. So let's get started. Get our safety gear on here. a really nice job that does. How quick it'll go. The pile probably only take less than 5 minutes to go through it completely. So we'll be back later. Well, we got just a little bit left to do. I thought I'd talk about the shredder. It has a plunger for the top, putting stuff in. It doesn't work that good, and you don't want to put it in by hand unless you get your hand a long way away, because it'll pull it right in if it's a small branch. And I didn't get the plunger for putting stuff in here, but the cutter is clear down here, so you can put your hand into the top here. But got to improvise, so we got a piece of tree debris here, and when you put this in here, it only stops right here. It's a perfect length down at the bottom, so it's about that far away from the cutter, so it works perfect. So this I inherited from some in-laws, and they left it outside. It rained for years, got inside the engine, junked the motor out. The bearings here were bad. I replaced these bearings here and sharpened the blade in there, which was still in good shape. But since the motor was destroyed, I found this nice Briggs here, industrial model here. It had been on a cheapo tiller, and after a few hours of use, the tiller exploded, and so they had this new engine. And the reason they couldn't find anybody to buy it is the shaft on the output side is really short. Most of them are like this, and this is like this, but on this application it worked out perfect because the clutch is perfectly aligned with the other pulley. And so for 20 bucks, and I got about $100 in it, but you know, $1,400 for a new one to replace it. So I'll start her up and finish it up, and we'll move on to another project. We'll get her ears and eyes on here. Not done, so we'll get that finished up. See you on another part of the video, another shop. Well, we're going to put some our sawdust that we picked up here from our cutting the firewood. We'll put it on our trail here. And today it looks pretty good because it had a nice dry hot day. But it's slickered and grease underneath here and stuff, so we put sawdust over it, just a thin layer. It does two things: keeps us from falling down, and it gets into the dirt and mixes with it and makes a nice firm, and it also keeps the weeds from coming out. We have to make sure we don't put too much on though, because the kitties will leave us a treasure in there. So here's what we'll do. So just a thin layer. It really works nice. Packs down, sucks up the water out of the mud there. So there we have another, using our resources for all kinds of different things. We won't use it in the garden though, because it's just dry sawdust. It doesn't have any nutrients in it. So when we mulch stuff, we always do it with fresh stuff, saplings and whatnot. That way you get all the minerals and sap and all that stuff that really feeds and makes really great mulch. So we'll move on to our next project. Well, we're back for another little job today. Over the winter, this surround here has come apart and moved downhill a little bit, so we're going to take it off. We're going to have to build some dirt up in here. But this mulch we put in here last fall, and it's broken down really nicely. When you pull this back, you can just see that it's just like black gold. It just breaks down to the nicest soil. That's just from last spring. And so what I've done here is I've mixed in some fertilizer and stuff, so we're gonna mix all this stuff in real well. And we'll get our surround fixed here. Get some dirt. Nice and snug again. So what we're going to do now, I've cut up a bunch of fresh branches to make some new mulch, so we'll be up with the shredder. Okay, well, here's a bunch of small trees and bushes that we're going to run through the shredder here, make new mulch for the trees, surrounds, and also for the grapes. So once we get this all finished up and stuff, we'll be back. Okay, well, we've got all that brush cut up here. You look at it, you can see what a nice job that thing does at cutting that up. You feel the moisture in it, and it's slightly green, so that's what we want. All the nutrients and stuff still in it. It's just dry sawdust. It doesn't have any nutrients left in it. It's no good. So we'll get this in the bucket and we'll meet you down at the tree. Okay, well, we're ready to put the mulch in around here. I'm going to fill it so it's just about level with the top of these. Like that, but you don't want it right next to the tree stem, so I'm about 4 or 5 inches away from it. What that does is it prevents them from getting diseases and stuff if the brush we're cutting up has anything wrong with it. But like I say, it holds the moisture really well. All that nutrient slowly feeds down. I would normally water it, but we've got rain coming in shortly, so it'll work its way down through there. And I also mixed fertilizer in the soil when I turned it. So anyway, another chore for the day. Well, we're just about ready to start planting in the garden boxes. So I want to talk about the compost pile here briefly. This side's broken down really well. It's ready to use. Look at that nice stuff there. And it's got lots of good stuff in it. Now this side hasn't broken down nearly as well. Recently and put some stuff in it, but it's still not running. It's only about 10 degrees warmer than the outside temperature. Has been in the high 30s at night, so hasn't been breaking down real well. But what we're going to do, since we like being innovative and stuff, what we're going to do is use this with a pointed end to punch holes down in here. And you see it doesn't want to go in, but it's got this nice foothold on it. So push it right down in like that. What we're going to do, open up some holes in it. Like that. And grass is the thing that makes compost break down faster than anything, so I just mowed the lawn. What we're going to do, stuff all this grass down in these holes and cover them up. So I'll be back after I finish them up and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, well, we got all the holes in there and we got them all filled up with the grass. So what we're going to do now, just put a little bit of water on them. That grass will put a lot of nitrogen down in there and start breaking it down better. So now what I'm going to do is take the rest of the grass and put on the top. So there we got our greens. Now I'm going to put some browns on there, which are leaves saved from last fall. Okay. So we should, like I say, the temperature in there was only about 10 degrees above air temperature, so it wasn't cooking very good, but we'll come back in about 3 or 4 days and check the temperature. It should be like double. So there's some basic composting for you.